There's a beautiful word. When I grew up, my mother, like every Christmas and every Easter, and then my godfather was St. Joe's on St. Joseph Day, says, Joey, don't forget, you got to go see your godfather. I says, yo, I'm going to go play ball. Give me a break. No, you got to go. I says, why? She said, Dovere. As I got older, I understood that Dovere was responsibility. And it's really like respect. I said to myself, that's what we have to do. But you have to do it because it's about respect and responsibility. There was a big difference just doing something. And then when I look at my success, I have more than I ever thought I could have in 10 lifetimes. I says, what an impact I can make. Can I make a difference? Can I look back at my life? And we're better than the city of Camden. We're where kids grow up in poverty. Like, it's okay. Yeah.
Dovere, respect. During the first half of the 20th century, Camden, New Jersey was a thriving, hip city. It had a lot of industry. Campbell Soups was headquartered there and actually made their soup in Camden. RCA was headquartered in Camden, where they made record players, radios, and televisions, and at one point was the world's largest producer of music records. Some of the fastest, most ferocious ships in the U.S. Navy were built in Camden. At its peak during World War II, it was the largest and most productive shipyard in the world. The USS Indianapolis, which delivered the atom bomb that ended World War II, was built in Camden. And as for the arts, Walt Whitman and Nick Virgilio, two of the greatest poets in history, lived, died, and are buried in Camden. The city had 24 movie theaters, many restaurants, and clubs with live music and dancing. Thousands of its good citizens had good jobs and raised their families in Camden. Then slowly, in the 1960s, it all began to slip away and the city was pulled to its knees. All 24 theaters, gone. Nightclubs were replaced with strip clubs and hookers freely walked the streets. Crime, drugs, and gangs ruled the night, and corrupt politicians ruled the day. It became known as the most dangerous city in America. Industries moved out, and the arts faded away. However, as tough as the bad guys are, a handful of tenacious citizens are proving to be even tougher. They're breathing life back into Camden. This is a story about one of them, a local guy, a regular Joe, who became sick and tired of the lack of respect shown to his city, and how he and a small group of folks converted what used to be his grandfather's bar into the city's only theater. Dovere.
Growing up in Camden was just wonderful. I mean, to this day, my best friends are my kindergarten buddies. Growing up in the city, it was just, my mom and dad never drove a car, so it was the only world we had was that 12 or 15 block radius. And, we had everything. We had ball fields, we could walk to a bowling alley, walk to the movie theater, baseball fields, football fields. We didn't have soccer, played kickball, box ball. It was just around the corner was an ice cream cone. You needed to go get a sandwich, you can get it. And it was, I guess never knew what the suburbs were like. My kids kid me. They said, oh, if he runs into somebody in Camden, he's going to be talking for the next hour. And so if I find it, they say, Bob, where'd you grow up, kid? I grew up in Camden. Where are you from? And I'm always amazed that some people don't even want to talk about it. And I could talk about it all night long. And so it was just growing up with this wonderful childhood. I mean, just everything about it. You couldn't wait to get out of school. You couldn't wait to hang out on the corner. You couldn't wait to get chased off the corner, all those things. And so I had all this. I just thought I grew up, having everything I needed, with not really having material things, but it was just that a support system. And I don't even know how to explain it.
So let's say people lived in this neighborhood, worked down the street at the shipyard. So they worked at the shipyard. They'd take a bus, they'd walk, whatever. If you worked at RCA, you'd take a bus, you'd walk. If you worked at Campbell Soup, you'd take a bus and walk. And then all of a sudden, in the late 60s, this shipyard that had 44,000 people at its height in World War II was now down to 4,000, and the rumors kept going, the shipyard's closing, the shipyard's closing, the shipyard's closing. And then one morning, or was it one night? No, one morning, guys show up for work, and they all had pink slips in there where the time cards were. And that closed the shipyard and took all those jobs, people in these neighborhoods. Well, what happens next? Campbell Soup decides they're not going to make soup in Camden anymore. So the offices are there, but all this waterfront soup making operation for the whole Campbell Soup industry, it's gone. Now you've lost all those jobs. RCA comes along, biggest maker of, they're a recording studio, they made radios and stereos and televisions. Well, they decide they're doing a monstrous early retirement, including two of my uncles. And now all those jobs are gone. And this is all within a 5-6 year period. So now you got all these guys thrown on the street at once. No education other than maybe 10th grade, maybe less, maybe 9th grade. Used to making a union wage. The neighborhood's starting to go to hell. Everybody's out of work. What happens? People start leaving to go with jobs. They leave to go to a place where they can find a job. Now you need maybe a second job. Anything that in this neighborhood or in Camden, whatever you needed, if it was a furniture store, a butcher shop, bakery, was all within 10 blocks. You can get anything. Now you can't do that anymore. So now you got to buy cars. Now you're moving out there. Now you're going to. So Camden kept emptying and emptying and emptying, and crime moved in, drugs moved in, all these problems, and neglect moved in. And all of a sudden, Camden to the region became pretty much the place you put your sewer plants, the place you put anything you don't want. Your junkyards, your scrap yards, dump it in Camden. Nobody cares.
One day, we were during the Christmas holidays, in the bulletin, they said something about Sister Peg Hines, and they were having food baskets, And so I said to Peg, I said, maybe we should get involved in that. I love Camden. And I say, so of course, we went to our church and we made baskets, and we came down here, and then I met Father Doyle, and we delivered our first food baskets, and it was overwhelming.
What was overwhelming about that?
Just seeing the poverty, because you went into the people's homes, and I had my little kids with me, and it was like, whew, what the hell am I doing? We were going to build a building on Kane Avenue. It was an empty. I said, why don't we build an industrial park there? Well, who wants to move out of Camden? It's easy for our trucks to get in and out. And when they came back with the price for the land, it was like, I don't even remember, but almost 10 times what it was to buy a lot in Mount Laurel or Cherry Hill. Like
Really?
They wanted $60,000 an acre, where you could buy an acre of land for 10. And I said to Albert, this makes no sense. This is why the city's no good. It's corrupt. Why they have to have a plan here? Why are they making it so? So we all moved out. I would have been here. I still would have been here. I built my building I bought land for like $10,000 an acre in Mount Laurel. And then I built a building there. And then I built a building in Morristown. So there was no vision. This was a great city, and the politicians or the government, whatever, there was no vision. There was no one to say, why are you moving out? There was no committees or groups saying, why would you do this? How do we keep you to stay? Somebody was saying, hey, I heard Spars is moving out. Why are you moving out? What can we do to keep you here? And business by business by business. And once you take businesses away in industry, people, remember, my mom, like I said, my mom and dad didn't drive a car. They walked to work. And then after it, then the city just, what happened to the trees? What happened to the stores? Home after home devastated. It was unbelievable. It's hard walking into a home and see I remember my row home, right? And then all of a sudden you can see in the roof, and there's no furniture, like one couch and two little kids. It was overwhelming.
where we're standing right now is the basement of Sacred Heart Church. And the basement is where South Camden Theater Company was founded. When Michael Doyle asked me after Mass one Sunday why I never did any of my plays in Camden, because I was always in New York or in Philadelphia doing my work, and I asked him where, and he said here. And with that, he said, Bill, come do your plays in the basement. So what we did was a staged reading of my play Last Rites on the altar.
Father, forgive me, for I had begun to lose my sight. After all these years, I've had this vision of what you wanted from me, but lately it's been gone. For a while there, I'd begun to think that you didn't even exist. I was lost. A man in the dark without a light. But now I can see. This is just a big theater. And I'm just an usher. Tim and I. It's not our theater or our movie. We're just here to help people find their seats. Some come later than others, but there's always plenty of room. Before today, my vision had been very short. And my light, I think it needed new batteries. And you won't find that in a bottle.
And what we did was raise money, and what we did with that money is this. And what you're looking at, and I'll just go up here. This is the first stage of the South Camden Theater Company. I had worked at Camden Catholic High School for a while, and I had some of the guys who were my stage crew, who are now all in college, come. Rob Klimowski, one of my students, designed this very simple format. But what we did is that we designed this stage, and over a course of 2 days, over Christmas break, we built this. The story with this stage is that things don't always have to be the biggest or the most expensive or the prettiest. If you have the art and if you have the idea and you have the inspiration, theater can happen anywhere.
Joe's theater began in the church basement. I never saw a production in the church basement. And then excitement about that theater grew, and Joe's work with the church and with the city of Camden, soon that theater, which was a dream, I'm sure, just became a reality, and boom, it was there.
And the guy's like, wait a minute, I don't understand this. We're giving you a better opportunity right on Broadway in Camden, right in all of this. What is so important about that corner? I said, if that was your grandfather's place, what would you do? And he went, I get it now. Next thing you know, a few weeks later came all the rest of the approvals, because it really sunk home that this was personal. The building is an exact duplicate of what my grandfather's bar was. We built a duplicate. And I got to design it. So now the plans are in, we're meeting with the city of Camden, everything's starting to move on, and 2007 hit and the economy crashed. The unions were actually going to help build this as one of their projects to help Camden. Now all these guys are out of work. It's familiar, right? Just like the shipyard. Now they're all out of work, and now they had already started erecting a steel building here. You saw a steel outline of this theater, and we ran out of money. And it sat and sat and sat and sat. Pepe is a Camden kid who grew up right down the street here. He started with nothing. And Pepe is one of the most generous business philanthropists you're ever going to meet. So Helene goes to Pepe to get this started up again, and he donated from his foundation $250,000 to get it going again, which it did. And then we ran out of money again. By the end of Pepe's generosity and donation from his Dominica Foundation, his foundation had donated $750,000 to build this building.
I guess the craziest reaction I got is when they heard I was building a theater. I was at a gathering, and they said, I heard you're building a theater. I said, yeah, in Camden? Now, if No one came up to me and said, I heard you're building a theater in Morristown, in Cherry Hill, in Haddonfield. If they heard that, said, oh, I heard you're building a theater in Haddonfield. That's wonderful, or Cherry Hill or Medford. Think of that. Think of the insanity of that. I would, I probably would be on Action News if I built something in Cherry Hill, Medford. Absolutely, right? Oh, theater. Camden. A city that once had 20 theaters doesn't have one. Not one. I just felt so lucky and so like it's a responsibility.
Yeah.
And so they got me involved in it. We helped do a lot of things down here, but it was just trying to help. How do you make this a little better for the people who live here?
Joe created a theater that told intimate stories, many of them stories that he wrote. How awesome is that? That a community like Camden County can have a theater that produces a playwright's original work. I think that was the niche. That's what made it special to so many people. And then he did other intimate works. I think he did a phenomenal job searching out projects that went with his mission as he went forward with it.
Being from Philadelphia, I know about Camden for some of the more of the negative news. Mm-hmm. But to hear that they had a theater over here, the first thing I was thinking, like, well, where? Mm-hmm. And how long has it been around, and who's running it? And I got a circuit of people I do some stuff with in Philly that I found out were doing things over here. And I came over here to see them, and I was like, this is a nice place. You see the things that, Joe Peace put up on the wall and how this all came together. It's just a really good story. Mm-hmm. And he one day, Joe is always pretty kind to me. I had performed here about 4 years ago in like an ensemble type piece. I think they had rented out the space here from South Camden to put it on. And he saw me and he said, he liked me, he took a liking to me for some reason. He just said, come over here, audition for me one time. I'd like to have you over here. So I finally got a chance to come here last year in August Wilson's King Hedley II, and it was a good experience to work with this theater company. So whenever I get an opportunity, it's nice to be here.
And I've gone to the McCarter Theater and the Berlin Theater, and this is the same. And look what, we kind of stereotype people. So Princeton is all these upper class elitist people. And I think what we don't realize is theater is so human. We can identify with it. And for people in this city who don't know what it is, to be exposed to it, I only think it can uplift their lives and make them feel better about being alive.
I have to do plays that you haven't seen anywhere else. If I do a play they're doing in Cherry Hill and they're doing in Philly and if I do that same play, why are you coming to Camden? There's no reason for you to come here. But if I give you a different play, if I give you A Moon for the Misbegotten by O'Neill, if I give you a Waiting for Lefty by Odets, I've done 5 world premieres, I think 7 of my own work here. You can't see these anywhere else. So if you like the story, if you like what we're doing, you have to come to Camden.
Any theater anywhere will, first of all, economically improve the value of the businesses, the land. The economic development of a community over and over again begins with developing the arts in the community. And then just the quality of the people, the quality of life in general in those areas.
I really believe that. Because, Camden City, you have Rutgers, you have Cooper Hospital in Center City, Camden. You have Camden County College now there. You have Rowan there. You have all these eds and meds that are down there. That's a huge point of light. Well, now down here in Waterfront South, we have a theater that is a point of light. Somebody's going to go into the center down Broadway, and they're going to build something that's going to be a point of light. Next thing you know, the lights are all connecting. And the next thing you know, you brought your city back. It takes a while. It takes vision. It takes money. It takes cooperation, but I think that this theater is an example that it can happen, because you're sitting in it right now. Something that everyone said was crazy. No one's going to ever do this. This is an insane idea. But here we are. A woman from Philadelphia described this. She goes, "You're like Brooklyn is to Manhattan, you are to Philadelphia." She goes, "This is beautiful. This neighborhood's beautiful." And I'm like, yeah, it is. It is. But it takes you to come for the first time to see that. If you don't come and see it, you won't believe it. It's very interesting for me to be able to park my car on 4th Street, walk down 4th Street, where I used to skin my knees and play football and run around and throw tomatoes and all this kind of stuff back in the day. And to be able to walk as an adult down that street right now and walk into my grandfather's bar again is extremely powerful. Great things happen when great people get involved. Great people have been involved with this project all along, and they continue to come on board. They continue to help us build and help the theater thrive. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone.
You asked me why Camden. The support system that I had growing up in the city, besides my mom, my dad, my sisters, my brother-in-laws, every neighbor on the street who could slap me in the head, grab me by the throat, made sure I did the right thing. Teachers, nuns, priests, I can go on and on. Take a child here. As a rule, there's usually not a father figure. Poor mom's working 2 jobs, making $8 an hour. At that age, he's probably seen somebody who's been shot. And then we wonder why that kid can't make it. And so the heroes are the Michael Doyles, the Peg Hines, the Monsignor McDermotts from St. Joe's, and you go on and on and on, who understand that these people deserve everything that is supposed to be your inalienable right. And they don't get it. And most people don't give a shit.
We're not always as open as what I think we would like to think we are. And so, crises happen, and personalities clash, and power struggles, and envy, and all those elements, that those not such nice qualities about the human race are amplified, I think. And I think that's what Joe saw firsthand. I had just heard comments, and I told Joe, I said, "You be careful. You be careful. There are people that want you out of there." I knew it. And I knew he was in for a battle, and I'm sure that it didn't just happen overnight. I'm sure that he has had struggles with this for a good 1.5 to 2 years, until it came to a head, and somebody thought they could do it better. And you also should understand that, whenever a new theater opens up, you kind of like, oh, great, another theater, somebody else to take part of our ticket sales away from us. But Joe had such a special niche that I never felt that way necessarily. And I have friends that worked at South Camden Theater Company, and I thought it was great. I think it's a great loss.
Let me tell you what Bruce is talking about. Toward the end of filming this documentary, Joe, the guy who had the vision for the theater, was fired by the theater's board and thrown to the curb. Why or how does something like that happen? Perhaps politics still rule the day. Perhaps it's what Pepe said about the well-being of Camden. Some people just don't care. However, one thing is clear. Camden is a better place because Joe and Pepe cared enough to invest their blood, sweat, and treasure to turn Joe's grandfather's abandoned bar into a professional theater, a point of light, a beacon of hope that is breathing life into a decaying city. These 2 Camden kids have honored the lesson that Domenica Paperno delivered to her son Pepe. It's about responsibility. It's about respect. It's about Dovere.
And what was used as a green room?
The green room.
And changing room, whatnot?
Let's see if it's open. Yeah, actually. Today was food sharing here at Sacred Heart, where a lot of people get food once a month. Let me see if I can find the light. I've been at this a long time now. This is the end of our 11th season, and just walking back in here for the first time. I haven't been down here in a few years until you guys asked me to come down. And it was so much fun. You know, it was so much fun. And we want to always keep that coming at Camden. This has to be fun. It has to be enjoyable. It has to make an audience happy or move an audience or something. And but down here, the blood and the guts of how we started, just special.